those 12 players that are on the COVID list, I'm not sure any of those guys are going to play. Gosh, I don't like the Rams matchup at all. I think having to go all the way out to the West Coast, advantage LA. They're built for this moment. They loaded up with all these dream team like players that.
Set up our next guest because we have a scheduled time for them to join. And if you wait till they pop into the little window that they're ready to go, then you ask them to wait on hold for 3 minutes. So I always try and guess as to what time would be best to promo our next guest and get our short break in. Well, I almost said it. Kracz wasn't quite on time, but he isn't tremendously late. So I don't know if I should give him a hard time or not. But he looks ready. Hello, Red Kracz.
Jody, I had to restart my computer. The technical problem.
If Jody was in the private chat, looking at the private chat, you would see Ed will be right here. He's got to restart his computer.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so that's on you. We can give you a hard time.
Yeah, no, I stay focused on the actual what is on the air, as including the phenomenal commercials for the Ocean Casino that we run here. But I'm just busting your balls, Ed.
Yeah, I'm wearing a black shirt today too.
By the way, if we're going to continue in that vein, is this the week that Brandon Brooks shows up?
Oh,
look at that! Full score, McDonald.
Yeah, well, listen, they don't need Brandon Brooks, right? I mean, years past, you'd have been pleading for Brandon Brooks to come back, but their offensive line's been pretty darn good without him. But it's a weird situation with Brandon Brooks, I'll say.
I apologize for that, Ed. See, it's just an innate thing in me. John took a shot at me, so I had to take a shot back. And you happened to be in the way, so that's why you took the Brandon Brooks shot. So don't blame me, blame McMullen.
Okay,
well, I'm used to that, by the way. Yeah. Everybody blames me for everything. More importantly, Ed, how much snow did you get? I want you to
I haven't been out in it. I have to go out and shovel when I'm done here. But
did you guys get off easier? I think you guys got off easier than us again. Last week, Ed Kracz got nothing, and I'm out there shoveling 3 times to get rid of this crap.
Really? I didn't even shovel. All I did was clean off the cars, and
I got like 6.
Let the sun take care of the rest.
I was in the swath that got like 6 inches. I had to go out. Well, but my wife had to, so I had to do it early, and
we got 5 or 6
out
today. What kind of snow they're going to play in Saturday, you two guys? Two top flight reporters. You should know exactly how many inches are going to fall within hours of the game.
Well, I don't think it's going to snow again, so this is it. I think that crack staff at Lincoln Financial Field will have everything cleared. But who's going to play at Kracz? That's the most important issue. Nick Sirianni holding it close to the competitive advantage for nobody who wants to win the game. You did a story on si.com /NFL/Eagles, Eagle Maven. You did the job for him. What should he do? What are the main takeaways? What should Nick Sirianni do?
Well, breaking news, John. I'm playing Saturday night. I don't know if you heard that, but I mean, that's pretty much how it's going to work, I think. But, if you look at what Nick's done in his first year, going back to training camp, I mean, he always was cognizant of players' health and their safety, with the sometimes hour-long training camp practices just to keep his
how about those? We forget about those. Yeah,
and then he didn't really play anybody in the preseason, so I don't expect him to play, too many key people. But the advantage or the disadvantage now is he only has 60 players really to kind of pick from. Back in the summer when he could do these things, he had a roster of 90 players, but now he's got fewer players, so he's going to have to play some guys. I don't expect him to play these guys very long. I think he'll try to limit as many snaps as he can with some of his key players. And if you identify who some of those key players are, I mean, obviously the main ones are Jason Kelce. I think you throw him out there, keep that consecutive streak alive for games played in a row. But I don't think you play him very long. But then who's your backup center? I mean, Nate Herbig has been struggling with a knee injury. He's popped up on the the injury report a few times. I mean, you could play Luke Juriga if you bring him up from the practice squad. Or, I mean, the Eagles have those 12 players on the COVID list, so they can make some moves with the roster or their practice squad roster, which I expect them to do. Those 12 players that are on the COVID list, I'm not sure any of those guys are going to play. You know, maybe Kelsey, like I said, you activate him and you let him keep that games played streak together. Devonta Smith, I think you let him get his 38 yards that he needs to break Deshaun Jackson's record for rookie receiving yards, you know, albeit it'll be in 17 games versus the 16 that Deshaun did it back in 2008 when he had 912 of them. But yeah, I think you really pare back on the snaps, and outside the obvious, you know, your veteran guys, you really have to look at the safety position too. I mean, you're very thin back there, but
You got Epsy.
Yeah, but he's pretty valuable. But you can
I know,
ill afford to have anything happen to an Anthony Harris or a Rodney McLeod because you just don't have the depth there. But then,
Well, now,
you know,
real quick, Ed, let me break in real
Yeah.
quick because before you came on,
Sure.
I was thinking about this and I told Jody, you mentioned Devonta Smith. He might be the most interesting of all for this reason. He should play. He's a young player. You mentioned even, you know, he can break the team record. You want to get that done as a rookie receiver for yardage. But man, if he sprains his ankle, I mean, there is not a bigger drop off. I don't think in any position. I don't think Devonta is their best player at this point. Certainly an ascending player. I think he's going to be a great player. But the drop off at wide receiver from Devonta Smith to everybody else on this team is so cavernous. I don't know if I can risk putting him out there.
I like that. Cavernous. You're right. that is a very cavernous drop from Smitty to the rest of the receiving corps.
Quez Watkins would be wide receiver 1 in a playoff game. You're not setting up Jalen Hurts to succeed with that.
I agree with you. But listen, I mean, Devonta has been relatively healthy. You know, we've seen with the elbow sleeve on, and, you know, I know he's, you know, had that elbow issue that really hasn't cost him any time. So you're just going to have to, you know, cross your fingers. And he wants to play, you know, obviously.
Yeah, he definitely wants to play.
Yeah. But, you know, I think that maybe they don't get him the record. I would, you know, from a fan standpoint, I would think you'd want to see him get the record. He didn't get it last week. So, yeah, there is that caveat is, okay, this is what he did in 16 games. It was 38 yards short. It's still the second most receiving yards from a rookie since Deshaun Jackson, slightly more than Jordan Matthews. People forget Jordan Matthews, I think, had 872 yards receiving in his rookie year of 2014. He came close. He also had 8 touchdown catches that season. Devontae's got 5. But, yeah, I would like to see this be more of a, you know, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, get him some targets. Jalen Reagor could certainly use, you know, a few targets. Even play John Hightower, you know, a guy that's been on the practice squad all season, had a bit of a role last year, hasn't had one this year. Get him some targets too. So I wouldn't have a problem if they sat Devonta Smith because you fear the twisted ankle or whatever it is. And let's face it, his body frame was a big concern coming out of Alabama, you know, the 160 pounds thing, but he's answered the bell on that. He's been healthy. But yeah, I could see them not playing him and trying to get some targets for some of these other guys.
All right, Ed Kracz, I'm going to put you to the test with your crystal ball looking into the future with a hypothetical question. This is my favorite stuff. Gardner Minshew plays real well. Same level, maybe even better than he did against the Jets when he got his one other start this year. What effect does that have on the way the Eagles continue to judge Jalen Hurts? If for the second time, someone other than Jalen steps in and looks real good with the offense, and it's kind of a piecemeal offense at that, if we've got the right read and Sirianni is going to take discretion as the better part of valor, does it increase Gardner Minshew's trade value? So during the offseason, Howie Roseman can take a victory lap after trading a player for a 6 and a year later coming back and getting a 4 in exchange for him. Or does it mean nothing at all?
I think it means something, sure. It could also work the other way. What if he comes out and doesn't have a very good game, throws 2 or 3 interceptions, and then his value decreases? But here's the thing, Jody. I'm not sure how much I'd even play Gardner Minshew in this game because Should
We're
something
going to
happen,
see Reed Sinet.
You're getting down to Reed Sinet?
I would play. I'm not saying I would sit Minshew entirely, but I'm not sure I'd go more than a quarter or two with Minshew in there. And I don't know if I'd have.
Then Jalen Hurts has to be inactive. If you're going there, if you're contemplating Reed Sinet getting into the game, that means Jalen Hurts should be in civvies for the game, that he shouldn't even be active. And by the way, you guys will get it during the afternoon on Saturday. It'll be the best inactive list the Eagles have had all year. There's going to be a bunch of talent on that. You're suggesting the starting quarterback will be on the inactive list.
Yeah, sure. I mean, listen, I wouldn't play Jalen Hurts. I mean, he looked healthy against Washington. He made that great run early. He really cut hard upfield on his left ankle. That was the issue. But Sirianni said afterward, we all know that he has an ankle problem. And why would you put him out there, to be honest? I mean, another guy that wants to play, I'm sure. But why? And then you go with Minshew, and then you want to keep him healthy, right? And then you give Reed Sinet some work, just like Peterson did in the regular season finale when he put.
Don't go with the unstoppable Nate Sudfeld.
Unstoppable.
Don't go there, Ed Kracz.
Well, he's right. It's happened before. Ed's right. That's interesting. I've had my mind. It's going to be a Gardner Minshew day. The NHL has that rule to have that 43-year-old guy who's the emergency goaltender. They have to bring up every once in a while.
Yeah, right.
Maybe Jake Fromm can get that job, and he can go from team to team. Because we might see some Jake Fromm-like ability. I don't know anything about Reed Sinet, but boy, that would be more likely than not some ugly football. I hope we get to see Gardner Minshew.
Yeah,
I hope
we get to see Reed Sinet. And listen, I don't want to come back on this show next week for a playoff game, Jody, and you bust my chops about saying that I said Reed Sinet was going to play, because I'm not saying that. I'm just speculating.
Just checking it.
Okay.
Don't want to go down to Brandon Brooks Road again. I understand why you wouldn't want to do that. All right, let's look at the opposition. We certainly always focus most on the Eagles, but the Cowboys are coming to town. And as Johnny correctly pointed out in the first segment, a couple of guys have shown up on their COVID list. A couple of key guys have shown up on their COVID list. Micah Parsons, Teron Smith, both later than when the Eagles got guy on the COVID list, which means it's almost 100% that they're not going to be able to play this week. Happenstance. Hey, when you get it, you get it. There's nothing you can do to control it. Or were the Cowboys like the Eagles going, yeah, we could just have an explanation as to why we're not playing some of our best guys after the owners come out and said, we need to be playing winning football going into the playoffs. Well, or we can just let them test positive, and then we don't have to explain to anybody why they didn't play. Surprised that a couple of Cowboy stars ended up on the COVID list this week, and I'm suggesting that neither one of them had to test, that they probably chose to test.
Yeah, and again, long-term wise, now they don't have to test again. Once they test positive coming out of this protocol, negative, coming out of the protocols, then they don't have to test for 90 days. So that ensures that they'll be available throughout whatever playoff run the Cowboys, like the Eagles, will make. And if anybody wants to play this week, I'm sure it's Micah Parsons, because he grew up 2 hours west of Philadelphia, in Harrisburg. So you would think he would have loved to have come home and played in, kind of nearby where he grew up, but he's not going to play because you said he got put on the list late in the week. So I would fully expect he's not going to be even in town. He might be in town, but I doubt it. Keanu O'Neal's on that list. He's a guy that I like a lot. Maley Cooker, a safety, I think he's on that list too. I mean, they have some guys on defense that won't play in this game. And how much your starters like DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory and Leighton Vander Esch, how much will they play? Who knows? I mean, Mike McCarthy said earlier in the week that they're coming here to win, as you should. And Nick Sirianni said that on Thursday also, that they're playing to win the game. But you're playing to win with guys that aren't
playing to win the game with Reed Sinet, as per Ed Kracz.
Yeah, you're playing.
That's how they're going to win.
See, Ed, you went down the wormhole. Anthony Brown also probably not.
I'm wearing my green shirt next week, Jody.
Just there you go.
Deflect from the Reed
shirt out again.
Yeah. Anthony Brown, one of Trevon Diggs, is now on the injury report. So, You don't have
And
to
so is
worry
Tony
about
Pollard.
you don't have to worry about the Gardner Minshew pick six. Trevon Diggs probably isn't going to play.
Yeah, Diggs really used that Eagles game as kind of a springboard to one of the best seasons by a cornerback ever. Took that throw from Jalen Hurts 59 yards to the house.
Yeah, he's a playmaker, but
yeah, he is.
He was picking up. I think he was picking up everybody before Hurts, so you
Yeah,
can't blame Jalen for that. Yeah,
might have been his first pick six of the season, though.
Might have been.
I don't know.
Might have been.
Yeah,
he's had a phenomenal year. He's got tremendous ball skills, and he can make plays that just turn the tide of the game. So, it is going to be interesting to see how both teams handle it. It does seem like the Cowboys have come to their senses as well. It's just not worth it. There's a little chance to JAKIB proceeding for both teams and improve your lot in life. But let's talk about that lot, because this game is, as we said, shaping up as not much more than Eagles, Cowboys in name only. So let's look ahead to the playoffs, Ed. You got 4 potential options. The Buccaneers are the most likely. Cardinals and Cowboys are the least likely. So it's probably going to be Buccaneers or LA Rams. But of the 4 teams, who do you think the Eagles would have the best chance at? Who do you think they would have the worst chance of beating?
Well, I think based on the way the Cardinals are playing, and I know there's a limited percent that they play the Cardinals, I would want to play the Cardinals because of the way they're playing. I think they're 2-3 in their last 5 games. They have some injuries there that they're dealing with. Kyler Murray hasn't been the same quarterback as he was earlier in the year, and I just think it would be really cool to see Zach Ertz in a playoff situation lined up on the other side.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be a neat thing to see. A great storyline, certainly to write about. But that would be my number one pick, the Cardinals, but I don't think that's going to happen. And then I think, gosh, I don't like the Rams matchup at all. I think having to go all the way out to the West Coast, advantage LA. They're built for this moment. They loaded up with all these dream team like players that are now in the playoffs, and I think the Rams are probably the best team in the NFC. Not named Green Bay, and I'm not even sure Green Bay is the best team. I think the Rams are in the NFC. So I'm not sure I want to play the Rams. And then you could say, well, okay, how about the Bucs? Then you still have Tom Brady, and he's the reigning Super Bowl champion. And until somebody beats him, he is still that. But I think I'd want to play the Bucs just because. Just because I know
all week. But Jody, it's piling up. The information is piling up. Everybody's picking the Bucs, not just you.
You guys are all crazy.
Who do you like, Jody? Who do you want to see them play?
No, it's not who I want to see. It's who I don't want to see. And his name's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And you don't tug on Superman's cape.
Yeah.
And you and others, at least you didn't put them as the number one choice. At least you put the Cardinals in at number one. We've had people come out and say, my number one choice to play would be Tampa Bay, which I think is asinine, to be honest with you. He's the guy who I don't want. Here's how I would break it down. Eagles are going to be an underdog no matter who they play next week. Going to Arizona, 45, 45 split, Cardinals will be favored. If they go to L.A., which you mentioned, the Rams are pretty good, and they loaded up pushed all the chips in today, whatever. But the Eagles do win in L.A. They've done well going out to L.A. the last couple of years. I know this is a different group, different coach, so how much emphasis do you put on that? Not a lot, but it's worth noting that they do travel out well to L.A. I'd say maybe a 25, 30% chance to beat the Rams. Cowboys, same thing, 25. I rate the Cowboys and the Rams right about the same. Chance to beat Tom Brady, 2%. 98,
wow,
98 to 2. Bucs beat 2%. The Eagles.
I'd like you're going all in like Les Snead. Jody just put all the chips in the middle of the table.
And I'm betting on Tom Brady. Yeah. I think that's a pretty solid bet. That's
well, usually
like,
it is.
What you do with
it's
aces?
Not about Tom Brady, though.
That takes a lot of thinking to split aces. That would be the way I would look at Tom Brady in the playoffs.
To me, it's not about Tom Brady. It's about the supporting cast right now. I mean, if Tom Brady was with his entire group that started the season, was the reigning Super Bowl champions, yeah, I agree with you. That they're Lincoln Oil. They're leaking oil right now, and they have some issues, off the field issues as well with Antonio Brown. You know, I'm not saying it's likely by any stretch of the imagination that the Eagles go in and beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I would rather face Tampa Bay than the Rams or Dallas. Now, not Arizona.
Keep
I want
tugging
Cliff.
on.
Give me
Superman's cape.
Cliff
Go ahead.
Kingsbury every day of the week and twice on Sunday. That's who I want to. And even though Arizona's got a ton of playmakers, but I just think the head coach limits them a little bit. That's my perspective.
When Cyril Grayson goes 6 catches for
Cyril Grayson
goes 6 catches for $122 and a touchdown against the Eagles. Just remember who lifted him to that level. His name's Tom Brady.
Well, then we'd need Tyree Jackson to go for 5 and 90 if you're picking.
Well, Tom,
Grayson.
Jody has a point in that great quarterbacks elevates, and they do turn. And that's been one of my issues with other quarterbacks at times. And you say, you make excuses and you say, well, he doesn't have playmakers. And before everybody screams, I'm not talking specifically about Jalen Hurts, but there are certain guys that really elevate the Alan Lazards of the world and the Marquez Valdez Scantlings of the world who are no better than Quez Watkins, and they might be better than Jalen Reagor. I digress there, but there are certain quarterbacks that can elevate receivers, and Tom is certainly one of them. But boy, I don't want to have to cover Cooper Kupp or Amari Cooper or CD Lamb. They scare me more, even so.
Yeah, the Rams do have a lot of weapons, but and listen, Tampa, I mean, you're going to play a good team no matter who you play.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get around it. You're going to play a good team.
Tampa's does have the tight ends, and now I expect them to be more tight end based, I guess, with Chris Godwin out and Antonio Brown streets. But
and let's look at it. So when is the last time you mentioned we're talking about Kyler Murray, we're talking about Matthew Stafford, we're talking about Dak Prescott, we're talking about Tom Brady. So if we go down, I'm looking at the Eagles schedule. So we'll go backwards. Taylor Heineke, Jake Fromm, Garrett Gilbert, Zach Wilson, Daniel Jones, Trevor Siemian, Teddy Bridgewater, and then you get back to Justin Herbert, who is a legitimate, I think, top 5 quarterback in this league already. Certainly, maybe you could, certainly grasping at that level, at least. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, 2 months. They haven't faced a quarterback like they are going to face in the playoffs. Now, they might see Dak for a little bit, but so you throw that into the mix as well. What are we going to learn about this team? Good, bad, win, loss, indifference. Are we going to learn a lot about the defensive side of the football in that playoff game?
Yeah, and I don't think it's anything that we don't already know. The Eagles need help on defense. Let's face it. They're shorthanded there, and I know they've got this streak of 5 straight games holding opponents under 18 points, and that's all well and good, but you just went through that list of quarterbacks there, and not very good. And, when you play a better quarterback, that's going to be tested. That, they're going to put points on the board, you would think, no matter who it is. Brady, Stafford, Dak, Kyler Murray. The defense needs help, and that's not going to arrive until the offseason, but they need help, in my opinion, on every level. The line, the linebacker play, and the back end with the safeties and a cornerback. And, that's not going to magically get better when you face one of these better quarterbacks. So I firmly expect to not really learn something new. We're just going to kind of see what we saw early in the season, that this defense is going to be under stress, and it's going to be up to, some of your veteran players to find a way to make a stop when you can, a Fletcher Cox or even a Josh Sweat who has stepped up and made some big plays this season when needed. But you need your Darius Slays and your Rodney McLeods to make plays, and if they can do that, they'll find a way to win, I think, in the playoffs. But the question is, can they do it with what's around them? And I'm not sure they can. I like the fact that they can run the ball to keep quarterbacks off the field and kind of control the clock a little bit. That might play into their favor. But yeah, I think it's going to be a stress for the defense. And it's what we saw back in September and October when you're playing the Mahomes and the Derek Carrs and the Herberts and all these other good quarterbacks that they played. Brady, rematch with Brady. It's going to be hard for the defense, in my opinion. But there are ways you can get around it by running the ball and controlling the clock. So that's all going to have to work hand in hand because this defense needs help. It still does. I mean, in my opinion, even though it's played well, they still need help on that side of the ball.
And one of the things that the Eagle fans like to do, and I know this from doing my WIP shows and getting feedback from the Eagle fans and listening to those shows and is they like to second guess Jonathan Gannon. That's a standard operating procedure this year in Eagles football. Here in week number 18, is Gannon going to do anything, or is this just going to be, we got our philosophy, it's going to be backup players, plug them in, believe that what you've been working on all year will work here? We're not going to learn anything new from Jonathan Gannon here on the last game of the season, are we?
No, I don't think so. We saw him do a little bit more blitzing down in Washington. We saw him, change a little bit some of his philosophy as the season's going on. And he says he doesn't really have a scheme. Everything's kind of week-to-week game planning. So I don't think we're going to see anything different. I think he's just going to probably play it as straight up as he can. And just be ready to get into the playoffs and then maybe throw a few monkey wrenches in there. But as far as Saturday night goes, no, I think it's just going to be a straight up defense, maybe vanilla, kind of a preseason type look in terms of how he calls things, and just see if his guys can win one-on-one matchups.
All right, last one from me, Ed, and everybody read Ed Kracz and myself, if you'd like to, at SI.com/NFL/Eagles, or the easier route, EagleMaven.com. But we haven't talked about the quarterback. And, there's been a lot of talk about Jalen Hurts, and it's been a week-to-week thing. Is he the guy? Isn't he the guy? I think it's always been about he's the guy until you can find somebody better. And right now, there doesn't seem to be a path to find anyone better. And he has sort of solidified his spot as the starting quarterback on this team. His teammates love him. He's a natural leader. People are drawn to him. Are you surprised by how well Jalen Hurts has played this season?
Not really. I mean, I just think we all looked at him coming into this season thinking that he needed to improve. And I think we've seen improvement, every day, week to week. I think he has gotten better. If you look at, to me, he's not really locking in on the same receiver, kind of like he was earlier in the year. I'd like to see him do a better job of that, but he does come off receivers a little better. I like how the fact now as he stays in the pocket a little bit longer, he's not as quick to get out of there like he was earlier in the season. And then when he does get out of the pocket in the beginning of the year, when he was doing that, he wasn't really making any plays. He was looking to run, or there was nobody open and he would just kind of force something or throw it away. Now you see him making scramble plays, throwing the ball on 3rd and 14 when he's rolling right to Greg Ward down inside the 5. We saw it a few times with the other receivers. He's making plays when he's outside the pocket now. So yeah, I think he's gotten better, and I think he will be the quarterback in 2022. In fact, I'm pretty sure, I'm confident enough to say, yeah, he will be the quarterback in 22, because where is better going to come from? They're not going to trade for Russell Wilson, I'm sure, because Wilson won't want to come here. Deshaun Watson doesn't want to play here. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to come here. And then if you look at the draft, is there a quarterback coming into the league that can do better than Jalen Hurts? I don't think so. And I think what should give Eagles fans hope is that Jalen Hurts will return to the same offense for the second straight year for the first time in his last 6 seasons. When he went to Alabama, he had 3 different offensive coordinators. He went to Oklahoma, played for Lincoln Riley. He came into the NFL and played for Doug Peterson. And now here he is in his first year with Nick Sirianni. So I think if you allow him another season to grow within the same offense, something he hasn't had a chance to do in 6 seasons, I think that should be encouraging. That, yeah, he can get better. I don't think he's at his ceiling yet. I'd like to see him obviously become a better passer, make more plays from inside the pocket, but his ability to move and run and keep defenses honest with playing the run has given him time to develop as a passer. And, he'll be the quarterback in 22, in my opinion.
2-part question. Part one, either of the two of you can answer since you're both Eagle beat reporters. After the game is played on Saturday, when do you next have your media availability with Nick Sirianni? Is it Sunday because it's the day after? Does it go to Monday because that's the usual day? Or do you guys have any clue? Because I know the Eagles don't always give you advance notice of when you might have the chance to do your jobs.
Yeah, my guess is it will be, and the answer is the latter of what you said, Jody. My guess is it will be Monday.
It will be Monday?
That's just a guess.
All right, Then here's the question for Ed. On Monday, let's say the Eagles get beat 31-10 this week. They just get their tails kicked. It's not a competitive game. Can you just on Monday move right past it? Is your question going to be about who we by that time know who they're going to match up in the first round of the playoffs? That would be 2 tail kickings by the Dallas Cowboys in a year. That doesn't go over well with the Eagle faithful, and the coach isn't going to be able to just push it off as, hey, we start a bunch of guys, we protect them. No, coach, you told us leading up to the game, it's all about winning, that the whole team is prepared to win, that it's what we've done for 17 weeks to build this foundation. You can't then in hindsight say, well, yeah, we protected a lot of guys and didn't play any of our players. What happens if they get their ass kicked by the Cowboys?
I think you turn the page, and I think that's what would happen by letting him wait till Monday. No matter how Saturday turns out, I think he's going to talk Monday because then we'll know who they're playing. And I think, yeah, you want to play to win, and okay, you got swept by Dallas and you got hammered both times. But unless you're playing Dallas in the wild card round, it doesn't really matter, and it shouldn't matter. You just turn the page and you go into the playoffs, and then you go from there. And maybe you use that as a kind of a motivational point if you're Nick Sirianni. Hey, we got our butts kicked. We got to come out and play better, like Washington did when they went down to Dallas and lost by 42. They came out and laid it out there against the Eagles the following week and almost beat the Eagles. So I think that's how you look at it is, let's just turn the page, man. It's a new season. Everybody's 0-0, right? 0-0. And you go into the playoffs and you line up. And to be honest, I think the Eagles have already started planning for a playoff game this week.
Keep your feet. What does JG say?
Yeah, JG. I asked him about that, and he's like, "Oh, you got to be where your feet are, Ed." So that's all lip service, in my opinion. If you're not looking ahead to Tampa or LA because they're the two teams you're probably going to play, one of those two teams, then you're not doing your you're not doing your job the right way. You have to be looking ahead to what's beyond.
They're looking ahead.
Sure.
They have the quality control guys breaking down film of all 4 of those potential teams. But but they'll say, be where your feet are. Be where your feet are, which will be in the snow, probably as soon as you get off with us at Kracz.
You're absolutely right about that, John.
Ed, remember this name for about 10 days from now. You've probably heard of it before. Le'Veon Bell, another player that Tom Brady will resurrect from the dead to make a big play against the Eagles in the first round of the playoffs. But Ed Kracz, like John McMullen, like Paul Domwich, like every other knucklehead analyst we had on the show over the last week, and Jay said, "Yeah, bring on Tampa Bay. Let's get a shot at Brady."
No, I said
Antonio Brown threw his gloves into the stand.
Now Ed
How can they bounce back from that?
Now, Ed, I said bring on Cliff Kingsbury. I said if it's a choice between what Dallas can bring or the Rams, then I say bring on the injured team, not bring on Tom Brady. Bring on the affected team.
You can't bring on the injured team without bringing Tom Brady with him. It kind of goes with the deal.
Well,
I say Arizona, but if I had to pick between the Rams and the Bucks, if it was just those two teams, give me Tom Brady. Let's tug on Superman's cage, spit into the wind.
In the wind, yeah.
All that Jim Croce stuff from 1972. I don't know how many fans out there remember.
Skip Father Time a call.
We're gonna
Whatever.
rename the show to Mac and the Masochists for all the rest of you guys who want a piece of Tom Brady. Eddie K, thank you very much. Are you going out to shovel? Or are you going to break down film on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers so that you can give Nick Sirianni some insights how you beat the GOAT? What are you going to do with the next 2 hours of your life?
Well, I'm going to shovel and think about how to beat Tom Brady, and then I'll put those thoughts into words and, see if he'll listen. But, yeah, shoveling snow. As soon as I get off, it's the long underwear goes on, the boots, everything, and you won't even recognize me. I'll have a hat on, scarf, because it's cold and it's windy and it's snowy out there.
Smart man, Ed Kracz. Appreciate you hopping on board. Thanks, bud.
All right. Thanks, fellas.
Game Day Kracz here with us on Birds 365. All right, John McMullen, Jody McDonald. Come back. We'll break down the Cowboy game coming up on Saturday. Why? We're not sure. But we got to do it. They're going to play it. We got to talk about it.
Week 18.
And then we will get to the game, which is more important, the playoff game, which is next week. And along those lines, other key matchups in the NFL this weekend, some of which may affect who the Eagles are going to play in the playoffs. We're going to get Connor Orrup, national columnist for Sports Illustrated, did write an article about the Eagles offense this week for SI, but I am interested in talking to Connor about all the key games across the league this week. Keep it right here on Birds 360.